butter talking about the A1, A2 protein and, you know, all of those good things. But I'm getting ready to go get my vaccine and I am so excited, and just thought I'd start here. I also forgot my camera at home, so this is on my phone, so sorry about the quality. I'm here. All right, so I had to put you up on a tripod because this was not working. So we're gonna make homemade milk. Homemade butter. So what we're gonna be doing is we need a crusty spoon, and I'm gonna do it this way. Let's talk a little bit about why I use goat's milk. What does this look like? So I kind of had an idea that I had issue with dairy since I was really little. So when I was a competitive swimmer, I remember like I loved ice cream, I loved milk, but it would always give me these horrible, horrific cramps, like to the point where my mom would have to like pat my back and like get the gas bubbles out because it was just like this horrible cramping feeling. It was something I had always dealt with, but just was kind of like, well, I want to eat ice cream and I want to do all these things, so I'm going to keep eating it. And it wasn't until I started on my health journey that I decided to finally cut it out, especially since I kind of had a hunch that I was lactose intolerant, and basically that's what the doctor said, is like I was likely lactose intolerant. And so about 2 years ago I finally cut it out. Felt so much better, and I was eating a lot of vegan based cheeses and drinking like nut based milks. What is happening when we drink any type of milk, whether this is goats, sheep's, cow's milk, they have a protein in them called lactose, and if you are lactose intolerant, you are basically lacking the enzyme within your body called lactase to break it down. And they have found around 80% of African Americans have it, and I believe about 80% of Asian Americans are also lactose intolerant. So it is very, very common. And so the issue that I actually found out I was having was I actually don't have a lactose intolerance. Remember, I didn't do a test for it. What we figured out was that when I started switching over to goat's milk, I actually didn't have a problem. And I can't remember the exact reason I switched over to goat's milk. I think it's because Australia has a really big like bacon and cheese culture, and I just wasn't loving the nut-based cheeses. But I ended up trying it and not having any issues with it. And it wasn't until a few months ago after I got certified that I realized it wasn't actually that I have an issue with lactose. I have an issue with the proteins in them as well. So what I mean by this is cow's milk in majority of the world contains A1 and A2 protein. So there are cows in parts of Europe and Africa and Asia where they only contain the A2 protein. Animals like sheep and goat actually only contain A2. They do not contain A1. And what they have found in the research is that A1 has been shown to be quite inflammatory for a lot of people, especially those that have autoimmune diseases, and can be very inflammatory to the gut, which can cause a lot of issues and discomfort, which now that I know that I do okay with goats, I do great with sheep. I don't have issues with either. I have an issue with the A1 protein. I am not lactose intolerant. So I have switched over to goats because I really wanted to be able to get some of those natural fats in there. I know that there's so many benefits to being able to drink animal-based milks. I know some people drink nut-based. If that is your choice, that's totally fine. I'm just sitting here, you know, creating this information so you have it. And so a lot of people, you know, ask, is it bad? Like, is milk bad? Then is milk the issue? I wouldn't say milk is necessarily the issue. I would say that the way we raise our cows nowadays are the actual problem. So the way we raise our cows are, you know, pumped full of hormones, eating grains, things that they naturally don't eat. Where prior to a modern day agriculture, they were eating grass, able to freely roam. They don't have that ability anymore. And what they've actually found is a lot of women who, you know, cut out dairy feel amazing because their hormones start to benefit, but they want to start ranging their diet. I suggest for them to try that grass-fed milk, because essentially whatever that cow is taking in, you are getting it as well. If that cow is taking in all of these synthetic hormones and grains and things like that, you are getting the leftover side effects of that. And what's that going to do to your body? So they actually have found that a lot of women reintroduce grass-fed cow's milk and do amazing on it. I personally still don't, because I have an issue with the protein, not the actual milk itself, and not lactose. So it's really important to remember that. I really don't think that milk is bad. There have been so many women that have seen their hormones improve tremendously by deciding to add milk back in, good sources of milk, and obviously grass-fed isn't always the cheapest. And so it just really comes down to what's accessible in your area. All right, so the few other things I wanted to cover when it comes to dairy sensitivities, lactose intolerance, what should you do? So the first thing to realize is if you're having an issue with dairy, check to see if it's the quality of dairy. Like I said earlier, there is, you know, conventional raised dairy versus grass-fed, pasture-raised, healthy dairy. Try switching the sources to see if that makes you feel better. But you also want to check your gut health. So for a variety of people, there's actually a lot of parasites and bacterial overgrowth that can cause our gut to become inflamed and actually cause issues such as coming up as a dairy sensitivity, where it's basically your body saying there's something going on with your gut. So, you know, switch up your dairy, make sure that you're drinking good quality dairy, and then have a look at, could I possibly have bacterial overgrowth? Could I have parasites in there doing damage? Those are really, really big. When I had Giardia, I already had issues with dairy prior to that. But like, for example, when I was doing research on Giardia, which is what I had, they were finding that a lot of people in India actually developed lactose intolerance due to the Giardia infection that was never treated. So that's important to remember as well. And as you're starting to like pinpoint, okay, is there something going on with my gut? If there is something going on with your gut, which majority of us, a lot of us do, that is pretty much foundational for everyone's health. Start there. Figure out what you need to do to eradicate that. Heal up your gut lining, because your gut lining is going to be damaged is going to have a little bit of damage from having those parasites or bacterial overgrowth in there and causing probably your body not to be able to break it down properly. And I would recommend also doing HTMA testing, hair tissue mineral analysis, so you can check your mineral status, because we know that minerals plays a huge part into how we break down our foods, how our body functions. For example, I have a lot of allergies. I have allergies, and I'm also allergic to the foods that are related to my allergen foods, which is not usually common. Usually, you know, people are allergic to cashews and they're fine. I'm allergic to cashews and the relatives. I'm allergic to almonds and the relatives. And when I got my HTMA testing back, I actually have high levels of copper and low levels of zinc. And the interesting thing when it comes to allergies is that then the zinc actually needs to be there to obtain it and dispose of it properly throughout the body. And my zinc levels are low, so my body can't actually do that. So it's really important to get your hair tissue mineral analysis done to figure out what is also missing to help your body function. And also, when it comes to hormones, hormones are a crucial player in being able to eat certain foods. But we have to remember that hormone imbalance is a symptom, not a root cause. So really looking at gut, hair tissue mineral analysis to look at your mineral levels, checking your stress levels, and all of those are really foundational. And obviously, if you do all of those and you're still having an issue with, you know, pasture raised cow's milk, try goats and sheep, which have only the A2 protein. Some people, you know, are gonna have issues with dairy in general, but I would recommend looking into all of these. Dairy is not bad. It is not the devil. The modern day agriculture, the way things are farmed, yes, that is not good. And we need to really figure out and look into that to figure out how we can start to kind of reduce that practice to eventually where that's not even a thing. But those are some of the things I would recommend doing as a nutritionist. All right, so now we're on to the rest of the butter. So I have my 1.5 cups of coconut oil. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the stove. I guess you can come over with me. So I just made my latte, and so I'm gonna take that off. Might just put it over here for now. We're gonna put this on, and I'm gonna let this cook. Well, basically I'm just gonna let it heat up. And then I need a blender, a trusty blender or processor, whichever is easier for you. I'm gonna go with blender because I don't have a food processor. You're gonna plug it up, heating up. I'm gonna go ahead and pour the other stuff in here. 1/4 of a cup of olive oil. So you're gonna pour that, do about 1/2 cup. Pour that in your blender. And then you're gonna need 1/4 cup of your milk. I am doing goat's milk. I'm gonna do a little bit more just because I wanna get those good fats in there. Cool. All right, and this has completely melted down. Okay, and now you're gonna add that 3/4 of a cup coconut oil that you melted. Alrighty, it's super simple, and I'm gonna show you guys the end product after it's made. Dishwasher, so here we go. Now we're just gonna blend it all up together. All right, and so the big thing is when you're blending this up, you wanna get it to a point where it looks like it's all mixed in. Because at first when you pour it in, you're gonna notice that the milk separates from the olive oil and the olive oil is separating from the coconut oil. You wanna get it to the point where it looks blended. I'll show you all. I promise one day I will get a better setup of camera. But you're gonna be looking for something like this, where it all looks good and creamy and together. Then you're gonna pour it into your mold evenly. I usually mess up on this bit. You don't have to get this size. This is literally just the size that I had at my local store. All right, and then this is what it looks like when it's in there. Obviously, I did not do everything evenly, but you either want to place it in your fridge for 30 minutes or your freezer for 5 minutes. I'm gonna put ours probably in the fridge. I'm not sure if we have any room in the freezer. Oh, we have room. I'm gonna do freezer for 10 minutes and then I'm gonna move it into the fridge and I will show you all the end result. I did leave it in the freezer a tad bit long, but that's because I got busy. But this is essentially what it looks like. And so this is essentially what it looks like. You press on it and it's actually soft. I wouldn't say it's as soft as butter, but it is very, very good. So this is the butter alternative I use. I use it on my toast. I have not used it in things like baking, but I do love having it on bread. I'll even take out one for you guys. There you go. There's your homemade butter. Yeah, I'm gonna have this week. I just think this is a great alternative compared to things like margarine. Margarine, we just know, has an inflammatory impacts on the body if we use it too much. Obviously, there is no such thing as a horribly terrible food, but there are foods that can cause inflammation in the body, and margarine has been proven to, you know, cause things like high cholesterol and high blood pressure and contribute to those inflammatory conditions. So this is why I'm trying to find another alternative. You can buy goat's butter online. I'll attach a link to where you can just buy like actual goat's butter. But this is what I do to save some money and just to do it at home. I love cooking, so this is what I do. All right, so thanks so much for watching my channel. I'm gonna be doing a lot like these, hopefully, like, you know, talking about what I'm making, why I make it, some of the health benefits, going more into detail about things like, you know, milk and is milk actually bad for you and things like that. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe for future videos, like and leave a comment if you have any questions. If I explain anything horribly, please leave a comment and I'll try to explain it down there. And yeah, I will see you all next week. Bye.